Autism is a strange word that carries mystery, stigma, and fear. I want to change that. The way it's talked about in the media, described as an epidemic, as if it's a disease with no cure, requiring intensive early intervention, makes you forget that there are millions of autistic people out there, many undiagnosed. Adults, children, people of all genders, races, nationalities, and ages. Autism is not an afterthought on the human race. It is woven into our neurodiversity. I am autistic, and it is an intrinsic part of who I am. Autism is a neurological condition, meaning that our brains are literally wired differently from the neurotypical majority. It is lifelong. You are born autistic and you will die autistic. It can be considered a disability, yet also a superpower, a blessing and a curse, sometimes all at the same time. And no two autistic people present the same. This makes it a very difficult condition for people to understand. So let me tell you a little bit about the world from my perspective. Sensory sensitivities. All my life I've been accused of being too sensitive. I've been told to toughen up. I've forced myself to tolerate surroundings that make me uncomfortable, telling myself that since no one else minds, I shouldn't mind either. That the lights are too bright, the noise level is too loud, my clothes are itching and tugging uncomfortably. But you don't grow out of sensory sensitivities no matter how hard you try. As you grow up, you might learn not to cry when something around you is causing you pain or discomfort. You learn to adapt. You find ways to accommodate your own needs, often without realizing what you are doing. But it doesn't go away. Social interaction and communication. An aspect of autism that people typically do know about is having trouble with social interaction and communication. And some people think of autism as solely a social and communication disorder. However, research has been done that shows that when a group of autistic people communicate with each other, they do just as well with that task as the non-autistic group do within themselves. The communication difficulties arise when the autistic people and the non-autistic people attempt to communicate. And you can think of this difficulty as kind of the result of two cultures clashing. Autistic culture is direct, honest, sometimes tactlessly so, and efficient. Neurotypical culture involves complicated social dances, placing value on body language, unspoken rules, and facial expressions. These are the things that can be difficult for autistic people to understand or interpret. Remember that communication is a two-way street, and it's not up to autistic people to change to fit in with your idea of normality. Many autistic people spend a lot of energy and effort trying to keep up with social situations around them. If we are spending all this time and effort desperately trying to fit in, maybe non-autistic people should also take the time to work out the communication style that works best for us as well. And remember, teaching an autistic person to communicate more like you does not stop us being autistic. Now, it's worth mentioning here that there is a proportion of the autistic population who are non-speaking or situationally mute. Many of them use communication devices or apps to help them communicate, but not speaking does not mean not understanding or not communicating. And it definitely does not mean that the person doesn't have a rich inner world, stimming, or repetitive movements. All human beings stim. Do you click your pen a lot or tap your fingers on the table? That's stimming. But autistic people stim more than average and do it to relieve anxiety or to self-regulate. Sometimes it is socially acceptable or inoffensive. Other times it can be socially inappropriate or even dangerous to the autistic person. It's really important that if an autistic person needs to stim, they should be allowed to and encouraged to. So finding safe stims and encouraging those is important. Redirecting can also be a way to stop the autistic person harming themselves. Stimming comes in many forms. It can look like rocking in your chair. It can look like hitting your head, stimming with your hands, vocal stims, stim dancing, hair pulling, twisting, raising up and down on your tiptoes or rolling over on your ankles, or chewing your lips or the inside of your mouth. All of these are stimming. Executive functioning. This is often left out of the discussion about autism and more commonly attributed to ADHD. But the vast majority of autistic people struggle with executive functioning tasks like planning, organizing, time management, shifting tasks, and hyperfocus. Due to these struggles, we often internalize labels about our productivity and therefore about our worth, thinking that we're lazy or stupid because we can't do things that come easily to other people. Once we're out of formal education, this can be the area that we struggle most. without the structure of school or family life to help us out. It can be very hard to live up to society's expectations when we struggle with executive functioning. Special interests. Now, these are somewhat pathologized by the medical establishment who like to comment on the appropriateness of these interests. We all know about the stereotypical autistic person who loves trains and can recite train timetables from the 1950s. But many special interests are much more normalized in subject, if not always in intensity. This can also be why autism gets missed in girls, especially if their special interest is appropriate for their age or gender. For example, horses, makeup, or pop stars. I was deeply, deeply into the Spice Girls in the late 90s, as were a lot of people around me. But not everybody was into them in the same sort of obsessive way that I was. Not everybody memorized facts about their lives. Not everybody collected little cutouts of every single newspaper article you could find in a little box. The intensity of the special interests can be something that's unique to autism. I firmly believe special interests should be encouraged. They can be extremely fulfilling for autistic people and pave the way for future careers or friendships. Even if they seem insignificant or a waste of time, an autistic person might gain a lot of pleasure and value from them. They are way more than just a hobby. That was a very quick summary of the main aspects of autism, but it really is a complicated and hard to understand condition that goes so much deeper than what I've talked about in this video. Think of the core features or the core areas that I've described creating ripples into the rest of our lives, going on to affect every area of our lives: school, university, home life, work, friendships, relationships. And this, of course, is without even starting to take into account the comorbids that often go alongside autism. These can be anything from learning disabilities, ADHD, epilepsy, hypermobility, dyslexia, dyspraxia, depression, and anxiety. Autism can be a blessing and a curse, a disability and a superpower, can be all of these things at once. But I hope now you know a little bit more about what autism actually is. Thank you so much for watching. I make weekly videos about autism and neurodiversity right here on YouTube, so please subscribe for more content and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. This video was made for World Autism Acceptance Week 2020, so please share widely with your friends and family and on your social media accounts. If you really like this video and want to see more of my content, I have plenty, so check out all my playlists and videos all around. Just keep clicking and I'll see you next time. Bye.